Greetings and welcome to Explorminate. My name is Trifler and today I have a different sort of video. This is Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. This is a game where you design ships from 1890 to about 1940 and you put them in battles and hopefully perform well. In this case, I'm going to focus entirely in this video on the United States Coastal Defense ship, the much aligned hull that a lot of YouTubers I've seen videos where they just say skip time until you can get past this hull and get a better one. The US is the only country that does not start with a so-called typical battleship hull, and it will take a minimum of 17 months to get to one. So I want to talk about why it's worth actually using this hull and not just skipping time. I think that's kind of cheesy to begin with, but also this hull can do a few things that make it more interesting than I think some people have explored. And if not, then you can decide for yourselves. Okay, so let me get into another hull here, picture here. Alright, so here's the empty hull, and if we look at the stats here, we can see it's can have some maximum size of 8,500 tons, and it has a max optimal speed of 17 knots. Right off the bat, I want to say the scaling for the optimal speed is not as severe as it is for most of the hulls in this game. So getting 18 or even 18.5 is not a big deal. I like to go 18 so that when I do get to the battleship hull, these ships can still stay in formation, because I like to set my battleship hulls to 18. But these can actually go 18.5, I find, more easily than the bigger ships. But it all depends on how you design it. So let's see. So I want to go over, let's see, start with, okay, we got main guns. So it says 12, 9 to 12, but you cannot actually place a 12-inch on here. So in truth, this is 9 to 11. And then for secondary casemates, you can go all the way from 2 to 6 to start with. We're starting off in the 1890 here. Now this does have large casemates on the fore and aft, which is pretty unusual for most of these. I'm pleased that the developers fixed this particular casemate over here. It used to be have a tiny little arc on, and that didn't match this side, and they fixed that. So I think just in this last patch, 1.2.3. So that's great. Okay, so then on the sides here, you can fit casemates, 2s and 3s. That's all that goes there. 4s don't fit, but you can put 4s here. Well, not these secondary 4s can go on top of the casemates. 5s will not. So yeah, I mean, it looks inferior. It is inferior, but we're going to try to make the most of what we've got. So my first design was with 11-inch guns on the sides. I think a lot of people I've seen have tried that. One thing about this design, or this hull, is these do have some limited cross-deck fire here. They can fire through this section and through this section at ships on the other side. It's very narrow arc, and you can see it's not even centered with the broadside. So you actually have to be slightly angled away for that. And here, what would that be? I guess that's angled towards. Then, okay. So I wanted to find what I could do here. So I put a 6-inch gun up here, but also notice, I don't know how you can see it on the video, this chunk from here and here, so this part of the arc right there, is not available. You can't fire over the 11-inch gun. And I tested this with even a 9-inch gun, it won't fire over. I've also tested increasing the draft, and that on a lot of hulls that will allow you to fire over, but it doesn't in this case. I also tried it the other way, same thing, just in case. And I also tried, let's see, you know, like a 4-inch gun. You can do that. See, that won't even let me place it. It hits the turret there. 5-inch. 5-inch will work. US is one of, I think, 2 nations that can use these smaller 5-inch, whereas most of the nations, they have a 5-inch full turret. So the US can use 5-inch guns on their light cruisers to like pepper the whole thing, instead of just having like a couple of 5-inch on each end and then 4 inches in between. They can do 5-inch for the whole thing. Anyway, for this, so I chose the 6-inch because it does fit here. It's not perfect, but it does, especially for facing this side. It has a full arc on this side. Let's see, then for the towers, main tower, ignore these over here, the front towers. They don't exist in 1890 in the campaign. You have to research these, and that's quite a lot of research to get to front tower 6. That would be beyond, well, you'd be way beyond not only Battleship 1, but Battleship 2, I believe. Even if you focus on it. I've tried it, it was far. It is random, of course, but anyway, so we've got minimum tower 1, 2, basic tower 1 and 2. Basic tower 2 is the best you have available, and the towers are one of the biggest weaknesses on this hull. You do still get 25 communication range, so that's good. Unfortunately, you have poor tower spotting, and most importantly, this tower has a maximum conning tower armor of 3 inches. So it gets destroyed quite easily. The rear tower, you've got minimal, 2 minimal, 3 minimal, and then 2 medium secondary towers, I believe that stands for. So again, it's limited, but I put the best one that is available. Let me just show this. It will only fit right here in this one spot, unless you put it where if you want to use a rear gun. If you don't use a rear gun, you can use any of this space over here. And if you use, if you use like a 5-inch here, you can put one of these minimums back here, minimals back here. I just chose not to do that because I can't use this space over here for anything else anyway. So I might as well put the tower there. You could possibly put like a 4-inch gun right there. Let's see. No, you can't, not with that gun there. So it would have to be a different design. If you put this here, yeah, you can't, there's no way to do that. So anyway, moving on. Put that back. Come on. Okay. Now the funnels, you'll notice we're at 99.1 efficiency. I have 3 dual small funnel ones. You can place them by just snapping the first one, then holding down Control or Shift. They do the same thing, I believe. At least they do on my computer. To place the second one, and then you can snap the third one. Another configuration that works. See, the triple is only good if you have no gun up front. If you move this, you can put like a 4 or 5 inch up here, but it doesn't work with the 11 inch again. So that's why I don't use it here. But if you did have that there, then you would have the main tower back here. And you can go with dual small funnel 2s, because you can't fit 3 of the small funnel ones. Here I'm holding down Control to place the first one, snapping the second one, and we can get 72 to 75% with that. The last configuration I'm going to show, which I just discovered recently, I was actually spending some time looking at 30 to 40 of the auto-generated designs. I was not thrilled with those because it tends to only use 9 or 10s here and here. It doesn't put anything on the upper deck at all. I saw 1.4 go up here one time. And it just puts a bunch of funnels on here. It uses random funnels. Lots of these bulky funnels instead of the smaller ones. But one thing it did show me that I liked was the dual small funnel 3. Because I did not realize if I hold down Control, I can go left. But if you notice here, well, let me explain first. On the dual funnel 3, it has the unique ability to place 2 or 3 inch casemate on top and a 2 or 3 inch turret on the bottom. None of the other funnels on this list can do that, can have a gun at all. Right, so then what I was saying here is if you put it left using Control or Shift, then this section here gets in the way. You can't, okay. Well, on another ship I was working on, it blocked it. So I don't know, whatever. So I guess you can do this after all. But you can also place this over here and do it there, and you can put a small funnel in here, something like this. There. So now it actually looks like it's a triple funnel. None of these others will fit in there, so. And we'll look at that more a little later. So this is like I was saying, this is an 1890 design, so all you have available are the 6 inch casemates. So I have those fore and aft. And then I have these 4.9s on top of the casemate here. Now for the 11 inch guns, you actually can't put these here. Not even a 2 inch. So I don't have that there. Right. All right, so before I showcase some of my other designs, I want to go over some of these arc limitations besides the one I already showed. Okay, so for big guns located on the sides, their arc to the front, or at least this one, not the rear one, just the front one, is actually somewhat limited by the front casemate. You can actually get this gun to fire at a target dead ahead without the casemate there. However, I think it's worth having that on there. For the 6 inch, there's an argument to be made not to have it. Once you get the larger ones, I think it's definitely worth having. Alright, so then another thing I noticed the AutoGen likes to do is just kind of fill all of these up with even 1.4s if that's all it has weight for. It doesn't always, but it's kind of random. It doesn't have a real method to its madness as far as I can tell. And they always are perfectly, one side is a perfect reflection of the other. So they, on both sides. So what you can notice here is now this arc is cut off here from those there. And it's also cut off. You can't, it's not highlighted in red, but it's hard to see, but it's going down this way. So we've lost arc on both sides. So what I did at first is I would just not have these here. You gotta worry about these too. But so I'm removing them from both sides when I do this. There, see now it will actually get an arc that will go through here when I remove all those. These three are okay. However, turn it around. Wait, we didn't do it. Okay. So these are blocked on this side. So then I end up having to remove all of them. Okay. So what I figured out after a while is instead of having a reflection of each side, you can have an inversion of each side. What I mean by that is we have the three here, and we can left click to pick up, right click to remove. And so now they're on this side, but not on this side. And this side, this turret now, as is also clear. However, now we are off balance because the guns are only on one side. So to fix that, I first tried putting them here. However, I believe that blocks it still. Yeah, a little bit. So what I did then is I went over here. So you see this is on this end like here, and it's on this end for this one. So we'll remove these side over here. And now it's over here and it's over here. Now there is a little bit of offset that will go down as we adjust things, but you will notice even if you don't have anything, there is offset. So it was actually improved by having those there, just because these turrets on the sides are not in the same place. Don't ask me why. I mean, in reality, it would be, I believe it would be a port offset for one side of the ship and a starboard offset on the other side of the ship. But anyway, in this case, it's just one, because they don't have a way of doing that in the game. I did put this hull does have a ton of torpedo mounts. Let me take these off so you can see. So you can actually have a 5 torpedo broadside, and there's also the fore and the aft. However, you know, this is a battleship class hull, and it only goes 18.5 at best, and you probably don't want to go for 18.5. So I don't recommend using all of these. You know, if you want to make a torpedo specific design, you can do that, but don't just go for everything you can put on a hull. So I had these here, I think. Well, I don't know. Anyway, that was about it for this one. Oh yes, these can go up to 11.2 max. Anything bigger than that, and it turns red. Anything else? Well, we'll come back if we need to. Alright, so after the 11 inch, I also looked at, since the secondary on top had a blocked arc, I figured, well, what about if we put a 9-inch up here? A big gun. So this is all 9s, mostly because of tonnage limitations. So the idea here is, I should also mention the hull does require at least one big gun somewhere on it. You can't just go all secondaries, which is kind of a limitation, which I'll bring up again later, but it's kind of that way for everything in the game, so you gotta have one main gun. So with the all 9s here, what's nice is if you pursue research in big guns, you can upgrade all of these to Mark IIs pretty quickly. Not only in new ships, but also in refits. Whether you think, well, I personally don't think that refitting from a Mark I to a Mark II should be basically a free refit. The game does not consider it removing one turret and putting on another one, or even replacing the barrels. It just considers you making a refit with no changes. But it does change the guns to Mark II, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But that is the way the game works, at least right now. So anyway, you can change these to Mark IIs. What else did I do on this design? I did the same thing with the Z pattern on the secondaries, casemates. And I did also the triple funnel ones. Oh, and also these towers here. They do have a place for Mark II, or not Mark II, 2-inch casemates. I do think they're very worth using. I increased them to 2.9 with the plus 2% barrel length to get that 19 to 20% accuracy. I think that's what makes them valuable to me. Even though they're low caliber, they're very accurate. And especially once I get Mark II, which you can get very quickly, then they're even better. And these are fantastic for helping defend off torpedo boats. And even against light cruisers, they can do some damage. Even if, well, yeah, it'll pen some of the light cruisers. And then on anything, once you get, you don't have it now, but this is 1890, but once you get nose fuse and gun cotton, then you can set them to fire HE even if they won't penetrate, and it will start a lot of fires. Okay, so got my 3 9-inch turrets. Let's go. Okay, and then the other design I wanted to look at for 1890. So these are all ships you can design right at the start in January when the campaign starts. This is a different track. Instead of going for research focused in big guns, this is research focused in gun layout. So this particular design is not too impressive. It's got a 10-inch, 10.9 on top, but you'll notice that with secondaries here, this gets the full arc. It's not blocked. Big guns are not blocked. Well, any guns, big or secondary, are not blocked by a secondary on the lower deck. So that's a big plus for having a secondary on these spots instead of a primary or a main. You could easily put, I have a 10-inch here, however, notice, okay, the reload on the 9 is 52 seconds, the reload on the, well, that's not a fair comparison. So the reload on the 10 is 90.7 seconds. So it is a lot more What is that? It's not quite double, but it's getting there. Maybe 80% of the way. And then, of course, 10.9 is over double. Or, yeah. Alright, so putting the 9 here is certainly a valid. I just have a 10 here. But if you know a 10 will fit, then you know a 9 will fit. And with the 9, you could, again, upgrade it to a Mark II. The 10 is going to take a lot longer to be able to do something like that. So here I've got 6-inch on the secondaries. So this is a much lighter design. So because of that, I have to go back and show you on the other ones, but on, let's do that first. 11s. So on the original design here, I am using iron plate. I needed the weight capacity. I found, in my experience, what works really well is a 14-inch belt with 7-inch fore and aft belt. And so with this one, now that we have weight capacity for compound armor, I am using 9.5 belt and 4.5 fore and aft. This is, well, see, I'm looking at this plus 38 and the iron plate as minus 22. And you have to be a little careful because, I mean, if you know math, then you'll know this already, but you can't just cut 40% off of 14. That's not the same as going up. So anyway, what I did is I have 9.5 times 1.5, and you're going to get 14.25, which is just about 14. And so that's how I got that. And then similar for the fore and the aft. So I don't know if I'm doing the math right, but assuming I am, then these are roughly equivalent to 14 and 7 in iron plate. The deck is, instead of 1, I have 0.8. And then I do have 1.5 with superstructure. And then again, the conning tower is maxed at 3. So what this does mean also is since the conning tower is maxed at 3, it will get more protection when using compound armor. Okay, and then also, okay, so going back to the arcs, this secondary turret is not blocked by these positions. So you can add more. And then with the added weight capacity, I was able to put guns here, not on this side, but just this side. And then again here, and not here. We have the 2s on the top, and I do have a 4.9 on the front here because it does have clearance over this 6-inch turret here, secondary turret. We have a 4-inch on top of the casemate in front and on top of the rear. And then because of this gun here in front, I had to move the front tower back, which meant there was not room for the 3 funnel 1s, and so it's got the 2 funnel 2s. Okay, and this one does not have the rear torpedo tube. And then to get it to balance, oh, this one was very easy to balance. I only need 2 clicks on the aft, and it actually balanced perfectly. On the other one, let's see. Yeah, see, I had to put all the way up to 10.4 from 7 to get this design to balance. It still has a 0.1 offset, which is fine. I usually like to get it within 0.3 unless it's a torpedo boat. I notice a lot of people on YouTube are happy with a 6%, and I'm just like, no, you're losing way too much of everything. It hurts all your stats, your accuracy, your range, your speed, you flood more, all that stuff. If you can adjust that, then get rid of it. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, so I do get 18.2 speed. Oh, also another thing I did with this design is because it had extra tonnage, and there's not really, I mean, I could add more torpedoes, I suppose, and just pile on the armor if I wanted to, but instead I decided to make it smaller. This is 7901, I found, is actually the smallest you can go without the length being reduced, and you need everything you can get on this top deck. So that's why I went 7901. We do still maintain 8,500 kilometers range, which I think is decent, especially on this hull. Now, real quick, if you are someone who wants to just pile on all kinds of heavy stuff, and you don't care about the range, let's say you want it to actually be a coastal defense ship, you can do something like, minimum range, and you get a lot of extra tonnage to work with. So that is an option. And then this is, again, using the dual small funnel 3 on this is a duplicate of the 11 that I showed originally, but I've changed it to have this dual small funnel 3 and a small funnel 1. So you'll notice the engine efficiency is now down to 56.2, and our range is only 7,000. If you're okay with that, then this gives you not only another couple of 3-inch guns, but notice the arc. These are very nice arcs compared to these tiny arcs. And so arguably these are actually worth more than 1 each. But not only do you lose range with reduced fuel efficiency, but you lose acceleration. And so it will have a harder time dodging torpedoes and making turns. And then when you consider these towers have very short torpedo visual range, it's a real sitting duck to torpedoes. We'll notice, okay, so the 6 here, we got 78.6 with these. And here on this one, I actually achieved a perfect 100% with these 3 funnel 1s with 18.2 knots. And I mean, it's actually 99.1, but I actually intentionally reduced it to get it to 100. That's just for kicks and grins, but anyway. So I want to move on now to, let's see. Oh, just a minute. According to my notes. All right. Also want to mention that these turrets are, the upper turrets, whatever you have fore or aft, are blocked by these non-removable masts. So you can't, it's really hard to see in this, I'm sure it's even harder to see in the video. You can see this section here where these boats are. There's a wedge, well, it's all cut off from here over, but let me find another one here. Okay, no. Here, this one. Okay, so this wedge right here from this part here and here is unavailable because of this mast. And over here, even this 5-inch, you can see that. Here you can see this a lot easier. There's a large wedge that it won't be able to fire from. However, on I also want to mention that these do block it up here. If you remove these, that wedge is smaller. So you have to decide if it's worth having, if it's worth removing these. In this case, it is the same caliber, so you're not losing that. But one thing I will also add is that this is nose weight, and the ship is very naturally nose heavy. Even if you have the same, well, I mean, even though this big turret is on the back, it's still nose heavy. And so if you did remove these, that will make it so you don't need to put as much aft armor. So that is a little bit more in favor of removing those. But again, you do lose those guns. Okay, one last thing regarding the arcs. Now, none of my designs, well, you'll notice I don't have anything here, but this ship, or this hull, does have spots to put secondaries, turrets on here. Now, this one is just kind of silly. I don't know why. If you have a 6-inch here, you can actually put this on here. But if you have anything else, pretty much, like, it just breaks everything. You can't put that there. You can't put a 2-inch there, even. Let's see, I think on the 9-inch, I'm not sure if I tested the 9-inch. Okay, it does, but you can, it's hard to see, but you're losing a big chunk of arc by doing that. And so a lot of the times you would end up not having the side, and then you have, then it's off balance. So that's not the worst though. This one, let me get the 5-inch. So you're losing a large wedge here. I choose not to do that. I don't think it's worth it. But I will note, if you have a lot of tonnage, if you do decide to do this, then you no longer have any reason not to just fill all these in, because this loss of arc is already greater than any we would lose from those, so it doesn't, these no longer hurt you. So you can do that. Especially if you get double turrets, then you can, then at least you get 2 guns for that price. So now I'm going to talk about research and upgrades. Alright, so this is 1895, but I just have that to get the Mark II 9-inch in the campaign. You would not need to wait to 1895 to get 9-inch Mark IIs. So here, if you've decided to focus on big gun research, you can get the 9-inch Mark II, or the Mark II 9-inch, very quickly. Usually it's either, usually you get the 13-inch first, and then the second one is the Mark II 9-inch. Occasionally I get the Mark II 9-inch first, and one time I got Mark II 10-inch first. But anyway, my point is here, this front 9-inch, you cannot do that with the Mark I. It won't let you. It just, I guess because it's a circle, it doesn't fit. This 9-inch is a little more oval-ish, and it fits. So this will give you your more typical battleship layout. So you can have this, and it does, you can have your 6, 7, or even 8-inch secondary. However, if you're trying to get this right away, you probably won't be able to get anything more than 7s. You might still have 6s. I did do 7s here just because you can get them pretty quick and it fits nicely. So then you have these fore and aft central 9s. They are still blocked from firing straight ahead or straight back by these masts. Nothing you can do about that. Then we have this 7.9s for the sides. I have the 7.9s for the fore and aft casemates. And then I have all these 3.8s on the sides. Okay, and then you see here, these are like this for this one. But to get the arc right for this one, I couldn't have any here. So then they're over here instead. So again, you got to check both sides when you're check those arcs. To be rather particular about that. And then in this case, I did take the rear, these turrets over the casemates off. Now, this ship has a rather, it's basically whatever I could fit in here, right? So I got a single funnel 2 and then 2 funnel 1s squeezed in here. Unfortunately, this does somewhat reduce the arc for this turret, but it's not by, well, you can decide if it's worth. I thought it was worth it, but you may not. An extra 20% engine efficiency. It is still better than most typical battleships in terms of this rear arc. So I'm not too concerned about that. The main thing is, you know, if you go this route, then this hull really is just a weaker battleship. It's, you know, that's not particularly special. It's quite detrimental, actually. All right, so that's that route. Let's see. So now instead of focusing on big guns, you could instead focus on gun layout. You can get 7-inch casemates, I'd say usually within 6 months. Sometimes, depending on where the bar starts, is random. You can. I even got it in 1 month, one time, or a couple of times. So, and another thing that's very important is that just because it says 7-inch casemate, that also includes these 7-inch secondary turrets. You get both with that one technology. So you can put them on here and on the sides. And so this is the same idea as the 6-inch one, except now it's a 7-inch on all these. And I still got the 10-inch on the top. But this, I believe, is far more powerful than the 6. And it still fits within the tonnage. All of these have the same armor. They only vary between iron plate and compound. This one still has compound. I think all the 9-inch designs require iron plate, unless you wanted to reduce the armor coverage for compound, but I didn't want to do that. Alright, so you can get 7s very quickly. Then the next one would be gun layout, getting 8-inch. 8-inch isn't far. It's just it's always, what's nice about gun layout is it's always in order. You're always gonna, well, okay, I shouldn't say always. There is a small chance for it to skip. So you could actually get 8-inch before 7s, but not typically. But after you the 8-inch, then you start getting to all kinds of random techs. It's not an ordered thing. So once you get to 8s, this is where it really shines. I think this design is one of where it's this whole really gets to show off its best abilities. Not just because it's a bigger caliber, but because, in my opinion, the fact that 8.9-inch guns can get 79 to 83% accuracy should be a bug. And I've reported it for almost a year, but they didn't change it, so I have to assume they want it like that for some reason. So for now, I am using it. You know, here's an 8.9, if I put in a 7, go down here, a 7.9, hey, that's only 16 to 17% accuracy. You know, that's kind of weird. But anyway, I think if I was the developer, which obviously I'm not, I would have made it so that it's a curve, and your accuracy at 2.9 should be roughly equivalent to 3.0, and then 3.9 should be roughly equivalent to 4.0, and so on all the way up, so that you wouldn't have this. Right now, all of these are low accuracy at the 0.0 and higher accuracy at the 0.9. I don't really know. So the higher caliber is always not only more damage, but more accuracy, except for a few rare exceptions, just where it doesn't seem to do anything. And then it does reduce the rate of fire, but it's not reducing it below what a 3.0 is. So I don't know. Anyway, that's the way it is now. And so I really like this design. It performs well in battle. I don't have any combat footage for this video. It would be way too long. So we got 8 inches on the turrets and 8 inches in the casemates. And it fits a lot of these 3-inch casemates on the sides. I suppose if you wanted to give up this front gun, you could get in those extra 2 side guns. You'd have to give up the 4-inch to get 2 3-inch. And so that's up to, it's not a definite advantage one way or the other. Alright, so now if you decide to also pursue, well, let me back up a second. My mouth's getting quite dry. Alright, so let's see. So for this hull, I want to say the 2 magic categories, or the 2 key categories, are gun layout and what's it called? The one for turret mechanisms. Because the turret one will give you doubles for the secondaries. So here we have the same design. This is the 8-inch, but we've got 8-inch turrets on the sides and an 8-inch 5, or not an 8-inch, double 5 on the front here. I did stick with the 10, but this could always be a 9 as well. And then you could get the Mark II. I don't have another design where I used 11s, mainly because of tonnage, but also I should also mention, if you use a Mark II 10-inch or 11-inch on these side mounts, you lose the cross deck. And I really don't think that's worth it. Even as small as it is, it's good to have, because if you're perfectly broadside, these will both fire at the target. and that's a good thing to have. Also want to add that if you are research the 8-inch casemates, not only can you make a design like this, but it also, especially for the United States, helps for the future as well, because the Battleship 2 hull has 8-inch casemates on it. So yeah, that research continues to be useful, whereas a lot of nations, they really have no use for 8-inch casemates. They can't do anything with them, at least not until, I mean, they can use the turrets once they get to flat deck ships hulls, which is a ways down the line, but they don't really get any casemates that can fit an 8-inch. Let me move to one more design here. Okay, here I'm just illustrating what I was just talking about. I put a Mark II 9-inch here instead of the 10-inch, 10.9-inch. Again, this is getting roughly twice the rate of fire. And also you get Mark II instead of Mark I. You're not, I wouldn't say it's, let me check this. Yeah, the accuracy is roughly the same, but it wouldn't be the same if this was not a Mark II. A Mark I 9-inch is much less accurate than a Mark I 10-inch. But there is that rate of fire difference. So now you get the rate of fire difference without a loss of accuracy, and in this case it's actually slightly better. Also has more range. I think the muzzle velocity 700 versus 622. Anyway, torpedoes, I think I did. Yeah, I got a rear one on this one. One tip I have for pretty much any hull you're designing is if you're nose heavy, instead of just piling on tons of aft armor, you can put a torpedo tube on the back, and that will, not just the weight of the torpedo tube, but the fact that it's on the very tip of the stern, helps it reduce the nose heaviness or counterbalance the nose heaviness significantly, and then you don't have to put as much armor on the back. Now, if you're pretty even to begin with, obviously that's not going to work, because then you're going to be aft heavy. But it's a trick you can look at when you need more weight in the back. And always, also, like I was talking about with these turrets on top of these front casemates, don't forget you can remove nose weight, at least if you have that option. A lot of battleships don't have that option, but you can leave off the nose torpedo, for example. You don't always have to have, like on a light cruiser, you don't always have to have all 4 or all 6. You could just leave that off if you need to balance your ship. Balancing the ship is more important, in my opinion. Even if you don't really care about the guns. And then I'm going to finish with non-specific research, like passives and other stuff like that. Let's see. So like this hull and the way these turrets are laid out, especially if you had primaries on the side like the first design. Here with the 11s. Now this could be 11.2, I only have 11.1, just to save some weight, but anyway, where was it going? Oh yes, so I think more than even a typical battleship, this hull benefits from rangefinders, because these are going to lose targeting. Targets are going to move out of the arc and then back into the arc. and I think it has to re-aim at that point. I'm not sure, but assuming they do, then being able to aim quickly is going to be very valuable. Again, you got these casemate arcs. They're fairly large for casemates, but as you're maneuvering, you're gonna do that. So I think the rangefinder is useful. However, that is counterbalanced by the fact that the tower only has 3 inches of armor. And again, I'm not sure, but I suspect that when you lose your tower, you lose your rangefinder. That would make sense. However, it is just code, so unless they coded it to disable the rangefinder when the tower is lost, then the game would still allow you to have a rangefinder. So I don't know for sure, but that's definitely a concern I have. Then things like voice tubes, useful on any ship. Then I was talking about researching the turret category. Not only are you getting the doubles after a while, but the turret rotation speed, that's very useful here. And then on a lot of these ships, I'd say I like the gun cotton and nose fuse shells. Those will really light a lot of fires, especially if you have a lot of these light guns, especially if you have a lot of 2-inch. You could line this whole thing with 2-inch, but it's a trade-off. The 2-inch has a lot more accuracy. See, 19 to 20 versus 10. And I'm not even looking at the 2500, I'm looking at the 1000, because that's where these 1890 ships tend to operate. You can go a little bit further out, but not to 2500 usually. And so yeah, you can light a lot of fires with those. However, once you go a little further, I like the soft cap shells. That makes your HE penetrate a lot better. So instead, I think it's double. I think you get, instead of 0.6 on these, it'd be 1.2 inch. But not just for these small ones, for the big ones. You hit a ship with an 11-inch HE shell that penetrates, it's gone pretty much. Maybe not a battleship, but the big thing is that HE usually doesn't penetrate. And so, let's see if I can find. Nope. Nope. You definitely don't have to wait this long to get soft cap shells. Anyway. So I know a lot of people don't look at this and they say, oh, well, I don't want to reduce my HE damage. Well, if it penetrates, you're getting a lot more damage than you're losing, because normally you wouldn't penetrate. So, and then with the nose fuse, it's the complete opposite, right? You're losing a lot of penetration. You gain damage, but you're not going to be penetrating. But what I get these for is fires. That's what I get these for. That plus 35 HE shell chance, or fire chance. And ideally mixed with gun cotton, because this also, where is it now? Plus 6% fire chance. So the two together work very nicely. I see a lot of videos where they just say ammo doesn't matter. Either one of these, depending on the situation, way better than base fuse shells. At least for HE. For the AP, you don't really have any options for quite a while. Here we have semi. Yeah, I'm not quite sure when that shows up. It's after soft capped for sure. Gun cotton does have the trade-off where you have a higher chance of flash fire, and but if you have enough armor, that's usually not an issue. That's mainly an issue on your light cruiser that doesn't have enough armor, or if you don't armor your turrets on the light cruiser, then it's going to blow up. It's going to have chain flash fires. Bad times. So, and then of course, if you get white powder is awesome. Again, you have the danger trade-off, but what's great here is it increases the accuracy of all the guns on your ship. Both more accuracy off the bat and higher shell velocity, so it takes less time to reach the target. Usually means they have a better time hitting. The ship moving has less of an effect on the missing, and so on and so forth. Alright, I think that's all I've got. I hope you found this video interesting. I'm not going to be doing like more of these or anything. I might have like I'll see about doing the video about just some different designs I've come up with. But mainly I wanted to cover this particular hull because it's much maligned in the YouTube space. And I think there's, interesting things that can be done with it. I don't think it's worth just skipping time until you're past it. I think you can start out building them, and I think you can research some stuff and even build some more. It takes 17 months minimum to unlock the first Battleship 1 hull for the US. It just takes that long to expand the dockyards sufficiently to build those. And then there's something to be said for just going ahead and going for the maximum instead of for the 17 months. I think it's, I don't remember what it is, but it's, especially if you're okay with these. I think for me, once I get the Battleship 1, I like to still have some of these mixed in because of the different turret capabilities, especially for secondaries, that the regular Battleship 1 just can't do. You literally can't put even one of these turrets on a Battleship 1. You're stuck with, not the 9s, but sorry, the secondaries. You can put casemates on it, 6-inch and maybe 7-inch, I'm not sure, but definitely not 8-inch. And you can't put any of these secondary turrets. Anyway, hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks a lot. Take care.